So now I'm in the middle of the crowd naked
The
like
worst.
this, and I got to get up on the stage, and it's like this high, and so like I had to step up, and I felt like everyone could see straight into my soul as I'm getting up, and it was nuts. And then they give me the towel back, and I'm got the towel wrapped around me, and some chick starts pulling on the towel, and I'm like, oh my, and now I'm like comfortable. I'm like, well, I'm like everybody's seen every part of me at this point. I'm like, I don't care.
I approve waterboarding. They're talking about wakeboarding. The thing about wakeboarding, every trick is an invert.
Backside.
Air railings.
A new dimension.
All right, we are back. Another episode of the Grab Matters podcast. Today we welcome on a very special guest, Marc Shuster. How's it going?
It's going good, man. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for making the drive out, man.
Yeah,
Where
3-hour drive, but we made it.
I was going to say, where are you at these days?
I'm in Deerfield Beach.
Okay, so it's 3 hours from here?
Yeah, 3 hours. Just about an hour north of Miami.
Big chunk of drive. Hopefully the t-shirt I give you is good in exchange for the drive. I know it's probably not in terms of gas money, but you're here. I'm stoked to have you. So before we start every pod, I got to ask, favorite grab? Melon?
Or nuclear. No one will like it. I know everyone's going to hate it when I say nuclear, but I like a good nuke.
You know what, man? No judgment here. The melon, though, I like the melon.
Yep.
Not often answered, though, because people usually just go with method.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's just a straight
melon
answer.
poke?
Yeah,
Like,
a little melon
Come
pokey.
on. It
Bit of a
feels
pokey
good,
in there.
All right. So, I mean, yeah, let's kind of get into what you're up to now before we dive into the early days of Marc. Like, what are you doing now?
I do a couple of different things, I guess. So my main business is we have an AI and automation business. So we basically help businesses streamline efficiencies, save money, decrease headcount, and do more with less. And so that's one part of my business. And then on the other side, we also have an agency where we teach people how to do that. So we act as their fulfillment arm, helping them to actually fulfill for their clients, and they can focus on marketing and selling. And then got into the toilet paper business, as you might have seen.
Yes.
So that's more of a passion project. I come from the consumer packaged goods space. Early on in the CBD industry, helped build one of those brands. I was the vice president of sales and marketing there, and then went on to co-found Odyssey Elixir. It's a mushroom energy drink. And then left there to go work with for Alex Hormozi's company. I was the vice president over Prestige Labs for a while over there.
Shit.
Yeah, so I was doing some cool stuff, and then left there to go focus on my own business, being the AI and automation agency. Yeah. And I just love the consumer packaged goods space, and I could see that there was a real need for shaking up a really boring and stale category, being the toilet paper industry. And I've been full of shit my whole life, so why not start a toilet paper brand, right?
All right, and we will dive deep into Skid Slayer because I'm very interested to hear about it. But before we get into all that, let's back it up to the early days, young Marc getting into wakeboarding. How'd you get started? First time on a board, what's it look like?
I went to camp in North Carolina, and I saw wakeboarding behind there, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And funnily enough, before that, my sister used to date Donald Shelbrick long time ago. And so it's so funny because even like my sister's since been married, and there's a picture of her and Donald in our living room with them going to prom. And every time her current husband gives her a hard time, we go, Donald would have never done that. So he hates that. Yeah, he hates that one. But yeah, so, I grew up around the cable, and, funnily enough, my first experience wakeboarding was Donald taking me between his legs and doing a lap with me at the park. And I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And then tried it in camp, picked it up pretty quick, and then came back to Deerfield Beach. We had Quiet Waters and Ski Erickson, and one of my best friends in the world, Diego Shaw. Him and I just grew up together as little kids, back when I had hair at the time. And so we started going out to the cable every day, and it was like this little rivalry, right? He was the really athletic, great at sports, picked all this stuff up super quick. He could double kickflip on a skateboard and 900 on skates. And then there was chubby Marc. And I was just like this chubby little Jewish kid, had no reason to be in action sports. And it was the one sport that I felt like I could keep up with him at, in every other sport, he would just kick my ass. And so that was the one sport that I felt like, all right, I'm getting pretty good at this. And so we had this rivalry where he would learn a trick, I would learn a trick, and then we would just go back and forth until we both kind of got good enough to start competing and taking it seriously.
Okay, keep going down that path, I guess, a little bit, like where you obviously have somebody that you feed off of, which I think is huge as a young kid to like go back and forth to really get into something. So like, yeah, when does the competition start? When do you kind of turn the page and be like, all right, I'm taking this kind of seriously now? Like,
yeah, I mean, we had such a good group out there at the time. So obviously, Diego and I were going at it and riding a ton, but we also had guys like Sasha Peschel, who he was, running the cable at the time, and he was always pushing us. And then we had Rob Mapp, we had Donald Shelbrick, we had Chad Forrest. And so we had a lot of really great riders out at the park. So it was really cool to see kind of the bar, right? You could see how far you could go and where you're at. And then, growing up at that time, it was also a smaller sport. So there wasn't that many videos. And especially in cable, boat was always much bigger at that time. And so I grew up watching videos like Big Time with, Bernard Hinterberger.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And I thought he was the man, but even more so than that, I loved there was Michael Scupine. I don't even know if you know who he is.
No.
He was this young kid, I don't know, maybe 15, 16 years old at the time. And he was ripping the cable. And so that was like the closest thing that I could compare myself to, going, well, if he can do this stuff, maybe I can start to learn that kind of stuff. And so really looked up to guys like that and started to learn. And then, we had nationals and I did really well at nationals. And, same thing. We had guys like Jimmy LaRich out there and Nick Delory and a bunch of these guys that were just killer riders. And so we started to compete and started to figure out that I was pretty good at it and just kind of took it from there,
Okay. You mentioned boat. Did you ever dabble in the boat, or were you like strictly cable through and through?
I did. I love boat. I never had a boat. I never had as much time on the boat. We had Dean Lavelle out there as well, who he's awesome, unbelievable coach, unbelievable person. And so being out there with guys like that, I had the opportunity to ride boat a little bit, but not the same as I had with cable. I remember my grandfather came down and basically as like a birthday present gave me like 10 boat passes just to go and ride with Dean. And I loved it. But after those 10 boat passes, I was like, shit's kind of expensive. I can't afford this. And then at that point in time, I was already riding for free at the cable. And so I just had so much more time. And that's what I always loved about cable was, one, never had to worry about worrying for anybody to show up. Everyone was just always there. I could rip as many laps as I wanted to from, 10 a.m. till 7 p.m. And it was just a really cool vibe out there.
Yeah, 100%. Unless you got the boat in the backyard and like a crew that's down to go, it's really hard to beat the cable in terms of just reps and ease of access. So makes sense. And this is all at Ski Rixon, right? So this is home base. This is where you're
home
ripping,
base.
Riding for free
Greatest
there.
cable in the world. Yeah.
Okay. Really greatest cable in the world?
I think it's one of them. Yeah.
Well, okay,
and it's not about the cable itself.
Sure.
To be clear, it's a great cable, but at the same time, it's an older cable and it's a 4-tower. But to me, it's the greatest cable in the world because the people there are unbelievable. Britta Schippner, the owner, is like, I call her
She knows her shit.
Yeah, I call her my German mother. She's just super cool, really, by the book, and she'll kick your ass, but in a really great way.
Yeah.
And so I just really like the vibe out there, not just from her as the owner, but we had such unbelievable riders and such a really great crew at that time that, to me, it's the greatest cable in the world. Now, riding wise, there's some other cables for that, but
see, there's a big difference though, because I feel the same way where it's like, yeah, the features, the cable, the pole, the tension, all those are great. But like, if you show up and it feels good, that's the greatest cable to me. Like it doesn't,
100%.
All those other things come second. So, all right, I haven't ridden there in a bit, but let's dive into a guest question from Tom Fooshee.
What up, Mark? What up, Hunter? What up, Fat Dick? This pod is going to be so hilarious, so fun, so entertaining. Mark, you've always been the life of the party. You've always been one of the funnest guys to hang out with, the freestyle king. Just so witty, always on your toes, man. And you got one of the meanest toe-side edges of all time in park. And it leads me to a specific question that has to do with the toe-side edge. You were the first one to ever land a Pete 5 off of the flats and cable. Tell us the significance behind all of it, specifically where it went down, how it went down, the name most importantly, and how that all ties in together. Hey, Mark, I also want to tell you congratulations on becoming a dad. And Hunter, you already know who your dad is in football. Take care, guys. Later.
He's always got to throw little shots. Tom, your team still didn't make the college football playoffs, so I don't know what to tell you, but all right. So kind of a little two-parter there, but yeah, let's dive into it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the Pete 5 was at TSR, which I was going to lead into after Ski Rixon is, in my opinion, one of the greatest cables to ride. Also, unbelievable vibe, between Tom, Kyle Cameron, all the guys out there, Cody, just an unbelievable vibe out there. And of course, Paul Bialik is just one of the greatest people in the world. And I think is doing such a tremendous job for the sport as well. And came out to TSR. We're practicing for a comp. And at that point in time, I had a really great toe side edge with a lot of my tricks. And I was doing really big Petes. And like that first corner, whatever it was about that first corner was like you could mack into an edge, launch, and it was just like felt like a roll to blind. It didn't feel like a Pete. So I was like, maybe I feel like I could get a Pete 5 out of this thing. And so I went for it, and I think it was the second one that I landed. I think the first one I ate pretty bad on. And then the second one I ended up landing and butt checked it. And so Tom coined that one the skid mark, which for whatever reason, I feel like life has like a really cyclical type of thing that goes on in your life where now I've got a toilet paper brand called Skid Slayer. So it was like, I just felt like it was right. Yeah. And so that was, kind of the way it went there. But that cable is unbelievable from, the air trick side, and even for like rails and kickers, it was kind of, I felt like in the US ahead of its time.
Yeah, definitely leading the charge for sure.
That they had, yeah.
Interesting. So you're talking Tower 1.
Tower 1.
I feel like I'm not a big air trick guy, admittedly, but I feel like that's pretty rare that I mean, am I off base in saying that? Like, that's not typical.
It is rare on a first tower to go for a trick like that, but for whatever reason, when it's right, and like the pull was just like insane right there. So I just felt like that was where I had the best chance to go do it. The other corner, it was good for Toeside, but it felt like a little bit more spongy as opposed to whatever reason. I don't know if it's the angle or the height or whatever it was. It was like I could lay into a Toeside so hard there to go and like really boost them there.
Interesting. Okay, I mean, we're talking about Toeside air tricks, and I'm curious on picking your brain because we really don't see a lot of them still to this day. I mean, I think there was a guy named Juan Luca in LAO that did like Crow 5, like air toe Crow 5 or whatever. And it's just, you just don't see them. Like whether it's you can't go as high on them or they're really difficult or the slams, like, I don't know, kind of run through the process of like learning Toeside air tricks because it's something you were very good at.
Yeah, same thing. It was like watching some of the older videos and watching people that could do it. And it seemed like one of the harder things to do, right? So anytime I learned a trick, I was like, all right, if I could do it left foot forward, I want to go do it right foot forward. And I would always be like, felt like I needed to be able to do tricks both ways. And it was the same thing with Toeside. I saw some of the older guys doing them, and they were, to me, just so cool. It was like insane to be able to pop Toeside and be able to pull that around and do whatever. And so learning them was one of those things where I felt like I figured out a really great way to do them. And that's like, I've taught a bunch of people how to do Toeside air tricks from it because, it's almost like the best way I explain it is like you are basically grabbing your back arm and almost like trying to like pull your gut up, right? As if you got like a big stomach, you're trying to use that to like kind of pull your gut up, and then you're leaning your shoulder into it. And so it's all about pivoting that shoulder and using your front shoulder to dig into the water just like you would heel side. And so for me, when I started to kind of think about it that way and started to use it that way, I felt like I was getting like insane pop from it.
Interesting.
And I just really liked them. There was just something like fun and cool about it. And it's like, there's certain staple tricks, right? Like the double to blind. So many people were doing it, and I was like, I gotta go do it now, right? But Toeside tricks, I felt like were the one that you didn't see as many people doing. And so for me, I thought that was like a cool thing to kind of set yourself apart when it came to, comp riding or even just riding in general.
Toeside air tricks, like, why do you think they're still not done to this day? Do you think it's the difficulty? Do you think it's like they're not scored well in contests? Like, what, I mean, or back in the day, I guess, like, why do you think it's never really been tapped into? Because, like, air tricks themselves, I think, are super unique to cable wakeboarding. Like, no other sport has anything similar to that. And Toeside air tricks, even more so, are just like, I feel like if you didn't know wakeboarding and you watch it, you're like, how did you get in the air? It just doesn't make sense. So I don't know. I mean,
I think it's just a personal thing, right? Like, I don't think there's any like shade one way or another of like, oh, people don't think they're cool now or whatever it is. It's just plain and simple. Like, Toeside air tricks are hard. Yeah. And air tricks in general are hard. They're not intuitive to learn, right? So it's like, you really got to go eat it to learn them, as opposed to like, not saying it's any easier, right? Kicker or even off the wake, they're all super hard. But I think just when you think about it, it makes more sense intuitively. Okay, I edge into here, I jump off of something. And air tricks are one of those things where you kind of have to like have this blind faith of it's going to work out. I'm going to edge hard, dig my foot into the water, and I'm going to go up in the air. And so air tricks are, hard in general, but then Toeside is another side of that because it's, like I said, not intuitive in the first place, and then really not intuitive, and even the way that I was explaining it, it's like, holding your gut and dropping in, it still might not make sense.
Without me standing on the water with a handle in my hand, it's hard to like envision, but I guess if I was at the cable, I could probably do a little bit better job of it. But okay, so talking air tricks, I mean, would you say this was like your specialty as a rider when you were
for
kind
sure.
of in that?
Yeah, I was never like the greatest like rail or kicker rider. I could do stuff on them, but I wouldn't say that's like what I prided myself in.
Yeah.
But air tricks were just like, that's the stuff I used to watch all day long, and so that's why I wanted to get really good at them. And then also having guys like Nick Davies and James Young and all the UK guys, it's like I felt like they made them look good, right? And they had that certain kind of like flair and style to it that I thought it was just like the coolest thing ever.
100%. Let's, air tricks are, I wouldn't say notorious for slams, but they have the potential for some of the worst slams on a wakeboard because of the tension and the speed involved. I feel like. You ever have any real, true bad ones? I think I read about you getting knocked out on a double S to blind, was it? Or
triple.
Triple?
But no, that one actually, I almost landed, and I really, that's I don't have a lot of regrets in wakeboarding, but that's the one regret, was not doing a triple. My dad passed when I was 19 years old, and he was always pushing me to try stuff, but in a really great way. He was almost like my best friend / coach, right? And I tried a triple a couple of times, and he's like, if there's anyone in the world that's going to land it, it's you. And I took a couple of close ones where I actually almost landed it. I just basically tumbled over the front a little bit. And then I tried one in Germany, and I just completely over rotated it. And I felt like I ate it really hard on that one. And then since then, I never tried it again. And it's my only regret in wakeboarding was just go land that and get the hell out, But not that it's the coolest or craziest trick. It was just something that
MVDs are cool though, always.
Something fun.
There's still time, Mark.
There is not time. My time is since passed, bro. I went out riding. It's funny. You'll like this one. I went out riding, and you get older. You're not out on the water as much. You're not doing as much as you used to do. And I went out riding, I don't know, probably 6 months ago. And one of the young kids at the park was like, hey, I haven't seen a Tweety be done in a while. And I was like, well, I'm going to show you what a Tweety looks like, And I ripped around the corner, did a Tweety, and did it perfect. I landed fine, but when I landed, my shoulder dislocated, and I tore my bicep.
No.
So I was like, fuck these air tricks, man. This shit hard.
Landed it, though.
Landed it.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
You showed the kid what's good.
Yeah, exactly. At what cost?
Yeah, true. That's bad. All right, so you touched on Germany. And I'm curious because obviously when you were coming up in the cable side of things, it was very early days. There probably wasn't a ton of features, a lot of air tricks going down, kicker stuff. When was your first time going to Europe for wakeboarding and kind of seeing that side of the world?
That was Budapest, funnily enough. So I went to Budapest for World Championships when I was 15 years old. And that's actually where I met Norby, who's also one of my best friends ever, right? And you know very well. And so I went there for my first competition, and it was World Championships. And funny story about that was, I was competing in the U.S. for a while, and I was doing well in nationals. And at that time, I felt like I was, one of the strongest U.S. riders for my age group. And they had nationals, but I couldn't compete because I tore my hamstring off the bone 6 months before that. I was at TSR actually, and training for a comp, and everybody, Tom included, was like, you got to take a break, man. And I was like, nah, breaks are for pussies. I was like, I got this, right? And I went, and I was sore, tired, just took a nap. And first I figured, I was like, if I'm this tired and I can go put my run down right off the dock, then I'm good. And I went and I did a double, and I landed, and I just felt my hamstring pop. And so I tore my hamstring off the bone, and I was out, and doctor said I was going to be out for probably 6 months. And 6 weeks in, I was actually feeling really good. I couldn't do all the stuff I could normally do, but funnily enough, that's where my Toeside got way better because I was kind of limited, and for whatever reason, those didn't hurt my hamstring as much. And so I started really pushing on Toeside, and at that time, I think I was the youngest person to be doing chromobes and Pete's off the flats and stuff like that. And that was World Championships in Budapest, and went there. Originally I was hoping I was going to be on the U.S. team, but they didn't put me on because I was injured and I couldn't compete in nationals. And so my dad was like, forget about that. He's like, we're South African. Go to the South African Federation, show them your videos, tell them you want to ride for them. And I was like, okay, right? And so I sent it over to them, and they were like, yeah, we'd be pumped to have you on the South African team. So I was like, awesome, cool. I was with my people. And I went, and that was, I ended up winning that event. So yeah, 2005.
I was going to say, 2005 when you won, right? Yeah. Okay. Damn. Okay. So that's a big moment. So you go there, you win. What happens next? I guess you come back to America, then kind of run through the next few years, because I would imagine you start doing a bit of traveling after this.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it was a bunch of traveling, right? So it was coming back to the U.S., and, U.S. was a lot smaller side of the sport. There wasn't as much support.
Yeah.
And so that's why, at that time, I got signed on with Saruz, the French company. And that was one of the coolest moments of my life because we met, and this is, I don't even know if I can tell this on the pod, but
I'm
going to tell it anyways. And so I met with the team, and I'm on good behavior, right? It's I like to have my fun, and I was partying and all that kind of stuff, but I just got signed onto the team. And so I was like, all right, I got to be on good behavior here. And they said they're going to come out to Germany, to T-Mobile Extreme Playgrounds. We're all going to meet up. They're going to take me on the tour bus, and we're going to basically go and do like some photo and video kind of shoots. So I'm like, all right, cool. So same thing, good behavior. I meet the owner, Matthew. I'm like, hey, how are you, Mark? He's like, all right, cool. I'm like milking cookies the whole time, right? And then I get on the tour bus, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, smells like weed. I'm like, something smells like weed around here. And I turn around, and one of the other team riders, one of the French dudes, is rolling up a joint. And I'm like, this guy's ballsy. I'm like, the owner's right there. And then all of a sudden he lights the joint up in the bus and passes it straight to the owner. And I was like, these are my people. I was like, this is awesome. And so they were a super cool time. Like had a blast with that team, because their whole thing was no guts, no glory. And so for them, it was like, you got to go all out. And it was just like, you know, live fast, have fun, you know, and obviously you got to perform, but they had a really awesome culture, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, and still shows to this day. I don't know how much you follow, but Saru's still around, still doing cool shit. So
absolutely.
It's cool to see that. So you talked about T-Mobile Extreme Playground.
Yep.
Dive into that, because this is a cool, interesting contest. What was the whole like story behind it, and how'd you get there, and how'd you do?
One of the coolest events ever. So that was Lars Oliver, who, you know, he put on a lot of really big events with like T-Mobile Telecom. Like he comes from like a rock star background himself, and then got into the music business, and he's a fascinating guy. He's a good friend of mine. And I'll tell you another funny story about that one. And so we basically went to T-Mobile. We got invited to come out, and it was like the first event that, you know, I think any of us have been to where we actually felt like rock stars. So it was one of the first events that, you know, I think we all went to where we felt like rock stars. They picked us up from the airplane, took us to a bomb hotel, you know, meals catered. And it was so cool because, for those that don't know, this is an action sports music festival. So they had all these awesome performers, and then they had like the top BMX riders in the world, the top skateboarders, and then we had wakeboarding. I don't know how we got in there, but
Hey,
somehow
we were there.
We made it, baby. And yeah, that was super, super cool, because it was just like another level of like, you know, I felt like at that time we always had pretty good turnouts, especially in Europe for events. But this was like, lined. Thousands of people that were there to watch us ride, which was like a whole nother level of pressure. And so for me, I didn't do that great in the competitions personally, but I definitely had one of the best times of my life. That's for sure.
I think I remember Tom Fooshee was there.
I
remember talking to him about it.
We had really
It was
good times there. Yeah.
insane, like sounding. I don't know if you know Munich Mash, but it sounds like kind of a similar vibe, where it's like top athletes, tons of people, like very rare, I guess, in wakeboarding. Definitely cable wakeboarding too.
For sure. It's always the first year. It's like the first couple of years, those are the coolest events in the world. And then as time goes on, I feel like they start to get a little bit too corporate, and then the fun kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Take the fun out, bring the party back. So
for sure.
Anyways, you say you had a funny story about the T-Mobile.
Yeah, so that one, you know, and you can feel free to cut this out.
I'm not.
As well,
I definitely
guess,
know
you
I'm not going to cut it now. It sounds good.
So same thing. I'm there, you know, for the event, and at that point, like I said, I like to have a good time, right? And so at that point, you know, we were hanging out, and we're in the, you know, one of like the bathrooms, I guess, and same thing. You know, everyone's hanging out, and people are smoking and all that kind of stuff, and so we're sitting in there, and all of a sudden the founder of the event, Lars, the owner, basically walks into the bathroom, and it like reeks in there. So everyone's like tightens up, and we're all like, oh, hey. And he's like, smells good in here. I was like, yeah, it's cool. He's like, yeah, okay. He's like, well, I was going to say puff, puff, pass. And I was like, all right, he's cool. So I just like handed it over to him, and then all of a sudden he was super cool. And then one of their guys came over, and they were like, hey, by the way, you know, Sublime's here with Rome, and they can't find anything. So like, if you guys want to hang out and smoke with them, like, I'm sure they'd really appreciate that. And I'm like, I think we would really appreciate that. I'm like, that's super cool. So that's what we did. And then funnily enough, we ended up, you know, hanging with them. They were super cool. And then we went to another concert in like Tampa years ago, and I saw them, and they brought me backstage. And so
Sublime.
Sublime. Yeah.
Insane.
So that was like one of the coolest parts of my, you know, wakeboard career.
Damn. Okay, so let's talk about Saru's. So you signed with Saru's. Is this like a paid deal? You getting paid by them, or like what's the?
So I was getting paid, obviously, wakeboarding, right? It's not like I was making millions of dollars from it, but I was able to get, you know, a couple of bucks in my pocket, which at that point in time when you're young, you know, feels like $1 million, and then big packages of clothing and wetsuits and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And so it was awesome. They're an unbelievable company, just great people and unbelievable products.
Yeah, 100%. So let's talk Hyperlight though, because board sponsor. Did you have anyone before Hyperlight?
I think I was on Flow for Liquid Force when I was younger before that. And then Hyperlight was like my first, I think, real kind of deal with like a board sponsor.
On the team?
Yeah.
Were you getting paid by Hyperlight at all? Or
No.
Just...
It it was just flow, and then we had the opportunity to go get paid.
Okay.
But at that point in time, it was still new. I think I joined the team, it was like I was only in like my second or third year in. And at that point in time, they had Nick. Nick was like number one on the team. And so there was like, well, there's not enough budget for the rest of you just yet, And so I felt like, I was starting to inch my way up there. But that was like just prior to me going over to Control and doing all that stuff.
Okay. So I guess let's dive into Control, because I got some questions on Control. So you were with Hyperlight for a little bit. Obviously, didn't get paid, but kind of first legit deal. When does Control come into the picture, and how?
So Keith Lidberg. So he basically came on board, and it's funny. I got a love-hate relationship with it, because I was like, should have stayed loyal, right? It's like I should have stayed with Hyperlight. They were a more established company. Greg Nelson always treated me really well. The whole team was awesome. But something about Control really excited me at the time, and that was that it was a cable-specific company. And I just felt like it had that ethos of, let's build something different. And I felt like I was really going to have a part in shaping that, whether it be, helping to develop some of the new boards and boots and the direction, the marketing, all the rest of that kind of stuff. And it was just too small, unfortunately. And, it was, even though I was getting paid, that was also a really nice bonus for me to jump on board. But, obviously for anybody that's in the sport, it's like those payments, they seem great, and they are. It was a big help to me at the time. But that being said, it's like, you also got to stay loyal. And if you've got someone that's been supporting you, and I remember even with Greg Nelson, he said to me, it was like, well, he's like, what are they paying you? And I think it was like, I don't know, maybe $500, $1,000 a month or something like that. It wasn't anything crazy, right? And he was like, well, what if I match it? And I was like, I already kind of committed to Keith, and I felt bad, but like they were willing to match it. And to me, that was like, I think a stupid thing on my part. It's like they treated me really well. They were a really great company, and
to not go with Hyperlight.
Yeah, to not go with Hyperlight, because it was like the shiny object, right? It was like, all right, we're going to be able to build something new, and all that kind of stuff. And it was great, and I had a great time. We had an unbelievable team. The product was really good with Control as well. But the smart move would have been staying secure, right? It's like you see that shiny object and you want to go run for it, but at the same time, it's like, well, don't forget who's been kind of taking care of you, along the way. And even though it wasn't monetary, I got to do cool stuff with them, and I felt like I was really integrating with the team to help develop stuff and be a bigger part of their cable side of the business. And it's all good either way. I had a blast.
Yeah, 100%. So we got a Patreon question from Ali DeRome.
Okay.
And it's kind of just diving a little bit more into Control, and he's asking, when Control was in the making, what was that like being an integral part of the team during the build and the release of the brand?
Yeah, no, that was super cool. That's what sold me, right? Yeah, the small salary, that was cool. But that's what really enticed me to kind of bite the bullet and go over to Control, was being part of that. And it was a small team at the time. It wasn't a whole bunch of us, and we were all really hands-on in developing the products. And so to me, that was, like I said, the thing that really made me like, all right, that's the direction that I want to go. The money, the security, all the other kind of things, even the security on the side with Hyperlight, that was all cool, but I'm an experienced kind of guy, and for me, if I can go and have that experience and go and be part of something, that was really appealing to me.
It's worth more than a lot of money. So that's interesting. So, okay. Before we talk a little bit more Control, did you sign with Joby before or after Control?
After.
Oh, this was after?
Yeah, after.
Okay. So I guess let's talk about it now, because I thought this was before, but so I guess kind of the end of Control and your involvement in it, what's that look like towards the end? Like, everything that kind of happened to lead to, I guess, the end of Control.
Yeah, so Control started to fizzle out, right? The paycheck started coming in a little bit later. The boards weren't coming in as quickly. And so, it was kind of one of those things where, we spoke to Keith, spoke to Brett, and it just seemed like they were starting to wind things down. And so at that point in time, I was, I always worked. Even throughout my whole wakeboard career, I've always been in the business side of the world and, just eating shit in more ways than one, right? Not just on the board, but off the board. And so at that point in time, I was kind of done with wakeboarding, at least just as far as like a competitor was concerned. I was just kind of, it's like I'm not older at the time, older now, right? But I just didn't have that same, I guess, fire for it to go compete and do that kind of stuff and film a video part every year. And it was just more of like, all right, how do I get ahead financially, and how do I set myself up for the life that I want to live? And at that point in time, I got approached by Joby to come on and, basically lead their sales and marketing for the US. And so I was like, awesome opportunity, right? A real established company. They're well capitalized. They've got unbelievable experience. They make great products. They just don't have anything really that's hitting home in the US. And so I came on board with them. Also, unbelievable company, unbelievable people that are genuinely passionate about what they do. And so we wanted to go and build out the cable side and even just wakeboarding and water sports in general for the U.S. market. And at that point in time, we had a bunch of conversations about it to say, all right, well, what do people want here? And I was like, well, it's not Joby, unfortunately. People didn't really love or respect the name Joby at that point in time. And so that's when I kind of pitched the idea of saying, well, what if we had like a spin-off of Joby that was cable specific for the U.S.? And so that was what I was really pushing for, and that's what I really wanted to do, was go and head that up. And unfortunately, that wasn't in the cards, and I get it. It's a risky play, but that's what I really wanted to do.
Could have worked, though.
I think so. I really do think it could have worked. But, keep in mind, we're talking about a really small, niche sport. And outside of wakeboarding, they did, tremendously well selling tubes and wetsuits and all these other products that, did they need to take the risk? No. Was it going to make or break their business? Absolutely not. But I felt like we could have been a real force on the cable side had we have done that.
Yeah.
But we didn't get to. But even without that, I feel like, we started to make a really good dent in things. We had unbelievable riders like Julian and Yanel and, John Dickey at the time. And, so we started really, doing some cool stuff there. And the board shapes were awesome. Nick Husks, who's the board designer, is just unbelievably talented guy. And so we had a lot of really cool stuff that I think boded well for us, but ultimately, it wasn't growing at the pace that I think any of us wanted it to. And so that, kind of ended. And then from there, I was like, all right, as much as I love wakeboarding, I think I'm, out of it in that sense. And, to go to work with other brands, I would have loved to have done that. But it just in my experience, there wasn't the budgets. There wasn't, it was really tight and for the passion of the sport, which I'm all about. But I also wanted to grow, professionally as well in my career and learn new things outside of just being in the water sports industry. Like, I can't tell you how depressing it is to me to see some of the people that you put up on a pedestal, and this guy's like, the most badass rider in the planet, and then come to find out he's like struggling to pay his bills. And that to me is like heartbreaking,
It's tough for sure, and it's kind of a whole situation with water sports and everything. And I feel like people think there's a lot of money in it. People think there's not a lot of money in it. And it's just like, back in your day, there was probably a lot more money too compared to now, I would imagine. I guess I don't know. Like,
not. I mean, keep in mind, I was on the cable side, right? So it's like we were like the redheaded stepchild, right? So for us, it was, we started to get more, but there was also things that kind of went on that I didn't necessarily agree with. Like, I remember being sat down at events where it was like, there was a lot of like pinning against each other, right? If you do IWWF, you're not cool with WWA. And it was like this kind of like war there that I just wasn't. I was like, dude, I just want to ride, and I want to build this out as a career. And I was like,
dude,
this is just stupid. And so I remember at that point in time, like, they had meetings where they sat us down and they basically said, okay, we're doing obstacles only, and that's going to be like our premier event. And us like cable guys, we had something to say about it. We're like, well, look, that's cool. And that's all good and well. But like, why is that being put up as high as the guys that are not just doing obstacles only, but doing air tricks and everything else in between? Like, we felt like it was not necessarily fair. And like, come to find out, the reason that they were doing that was because they wanted the boat riders, the ones that they paid and that they built up over the years, to have more of a competitive edge.
There's always an agenda, Mark.
Because it doesn't look cool when Mark or whoever, like, the cable rats are beating the hell out of the guys that are in all the magazines. And so I think that was a portion of it. And like I said, it just started to take the fun out of the sport, because it was like, if you do air tricks, it's not cool. And it's like, okay, well, we can do kicker tricks too. We can do air tricks too. Like, it just felt like it was taking away from the sport, and it was like pinning us against each other versus like
in something that's small.
Yeah, none of us have anything unless we grow the sport collectively.
Yeah.
And so it just felt like it was like robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? It was like a little bit of like, all right, let's take away from these guys and give a little bit to these guys. And it was like, well, those guys have been getting, for 10, 20 years prior to any of us kind of, starting to get our little scraps. And so a couple of things like that I felt like, potentially stifled a little bit of the growth, but also just made it not as fun, for me.
Well, it's hard to think it's that fun when it's like, hey, we have our thing on the cable. Like, we maybe don't have it totally figured out, but like, we're doing our thing on the cable. Let's do a contest with the people that ride on the cable rather than 100%. Like bring in people that aren't.
But not just that. Look at Europe. It's like the events and the turnouts that they have.
True.
There.
Yeah.
I'll give you a good example. And again, some people that might be listening that might not like this out of my mouth, but the WWA event for Worlds this year for cable was an absolute embarrassment.
Did you go?
No.
Well, nobody else did.
No, and I'll tell you why. Yeah, nobody went. And there was a couple things, and it's like I spoke to Liam about it, and Liam was like, "Yeah," I was like, "How is it?" And he's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Oh, there's like 12 people here." Now, World Championships 1, you held it on like a Thursday during the week. You know, people got to work and stuff like that. So it's like, one, you've really already cut, you know, a large portion of people that maybe would have come out, because I wanted to go out and support the event, but like, I got to work, I got to make money, I got to do other things to, you know, and I wanted to be there. And so there was that, and to see that this was World Championships and there was such a poor spectator turnout and such an odd time to do it was just like completely embarrassing. Like, if I was there to go compete, I would have been like, what the, like, I just traveled halfway across the world to go ride and, you know, ride my heart out for 3 people on the dock. Like, this is crazy, you know, and 2 of them are my buddies, you know? So that it's stuff like that just really, you know, again, just silly stuff, because then you see some of the other events.
We see events that are doing well.
Langenfeld
Open.
Even,
I could go on and on.
All of those, and even like the Peacock Brothers. I love what they're doing for the sport.
Cable Carnival.
Like, Cable Carnival, one of the coolest things. Their media is
That's not a high level like wakeboard event, but there's a ton of people.
The turnout is insane, because why? People are having a good time.
Fun.
No one cares about the rest of the stuff. People want to have a good time, and that's what I think Europe does really well that America is not doing. Yes, we hold events, but at the end of the day, no one cares about the riding. That's a byproduct. But if you can get people good food, good drinks, a good time, some good music, and really put it on that way, that's when I think it does well. And like Texas Ski Ranch is a great example of that. One of my favorite events ever was at Texas Ski Ranch, and those were music festivals. They had Mickey Avalon out there. I think they had Juicy J one year. And
damn, I would have gone for Juicy J.
It was like the coolest thing in the world, man. So that was, those were the great events to me. And, you know, anything outside of that in the U.S. was just normally kind of like, all right, you're there to compete, and then you get done riding, you go to your hotel or you go home, and that's it.
Do you think having cable worlds in America is just kind of like, not an oxymoron, but like just doesn't really make sense? Like, this isn't where cable is. It's so spread out. There's not that many cables here. Like, if you want to me, the goal of a world is to find the world's best rider.
Yeah, I agree.
And to get the world's best rider, I would go to like where all the cables are and like the central, like, I mean,
people travel, right? So like, if you've got the best riders, they normally have some kind of budget to go and travel.
Yeah.
And if not, they're willing to put the budget up themselves to go be part of an event like that. So I don't think it's that doing it in the U.S. is the problem. I think they'll get a better turnout in Europe, but at the same time, it's the problem of how they're running the events
That's
in the U.S.
the real
So if they made it fun
issue.
and they made it cool to go,
yeah.
like we went to, by us, there's a surf place, Island Water Sports, that did some kind of surf event. They did it with like Red Bull on the beach by us. And like, I live in kind of like an older kind of area. There's not like as many like young people around there. And this was packed. And so like my wife and I looked at each other and we're like, the people are here. They're just not going to these events because they're not publicized well, and then they're just not fun, you know? So it's like, if you add that fun portion of it, you know, whether it's music or a party or, you know, whatever it might be, I think those are things that are going to increase the turnout and then therefore build visibility.
Good coverage,
into the
like
sport.
prestige.
100%,
Yeah, like, okay, that's a good point, I guess, because I guess in my head I was like, man, it doesn't really make sense to have worlds in America, but I guess it doesn't really matter where it is as long as the event itself is badass.
Bomb, yeah.
Okay, that's a good point. So I want to, you know, kind of pick your brain on, we were talking, this is the early days of cable and boats obviously huge. Maybe not the early days of cable, but it's kind of getting bigger and getting more legitimized. Do you feel like there was a delay in the respect cable got in the sense of like the industry as a whole? Did you feel like there was kind of a push against, maybe not a push against growing cable, but did you feel like you weren't as included in like the world of wakeboarding as maybe you thought it should have been? Or
a little bit? Like I would say in like the beginning, it felt like that a little bit. And then as cable started to grow, there started to be some more unity there, but there was always like a divide between the cable and the boat riders. And you could always feel it like at the events, all the cable riders from all over the world were hanging out together. And some of the boat guys were like off on their own thing. And I don't want to say that that they did that purposely. Maybe, you know, at the end of the day, it could be,
this is the guys we know
they just
and we
don't,
like.
yeah, that's exactly. There's no like shade to it one way or another, but there was definitely felt like some kind of divide there.
Yeah.
As opposed to just being like, yeah, we're all in a small niche,
this is the same
kind of sport, you know what I mean?
Dude.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Like we should all hang out, you know, because we all like doing the same stuff,
Yeah.
right? Everyone was cool, you know. And even then, like a lot of those guys that maybe were, you know, I would say like a little bit more apprehensive to hang ended up being some of the coolest guys as well, because they're great people. It's just we didn't know each other. And then it was like this kind of weird thing where it was like, well, if cable gets too big, it's going to take away from me. And I'm not doing some of the air tricks. And so it was like maybe like a little bit of back and forth there. But to us, we were just like happy to be with everybody, you know? And even then, even on the boat side, those are still guys that like we looked up to and loved watching riding. Like we were not just riders, we're fans too, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
100%. Yeah, and I guess kind of coming back to the events and the contest thing, it's kind of hard to like hang out and vibe with someone if it's just a contest and that's the only time you see the person. Where if it's like a fun event, it's like, oh, we're all kind of loosened up, we're having some drinks, like not so serious, like I'm here to take yours, you're here to take mine. It's just like, oh, we're just here to like kind of become a bigger community. So yeah, I don't know the solution to that problem, but like I think what you're saying, making events bomb is like,
just make it fun.
that's the first
just
thing.
Make it fun.
Like, just make it fun,
exactly.
dude. Come on. All right, let's talk Penny. Cool. So I just had it on the TV as you were walking in, and you walked in right after your part finished. But we got a Patreon question from Andreas Vossi. Yeah, so he's wondering, you had a great part in the epic movie Statement 1.5. So this is not Penny related, but Statement 1.5 by Chris Gruner at CWC. What was it like working with Chris, and what were the highlights of filming this movie, and a standout memory you have from this?
Ooh, it was like a dream. I mean, it was like they flew me out to the Philippines, which was super cool. It was CWC, like early days. They just built it. You're hanging with the governor of the Philippines, and you know they're treating you really well. And Chris Gruner, obviously, like Statement, and even just all the videos he did. He's a really talented filmmaker. He was one of those people I always wanted to work with, and so to get that invite to me was like, who, me? Like me?
It's a big deal, dude.
It felt like a big deal at the time for me, right? And it just felt like that little bit of validation and acceptance that, for me personally, it made me feel great, right? It's like everybody wants to feel like part of the team and to feel, respected or seen or wanting to be included. And so to get that invite to me was like, I was super, super.
It's like validation for like a lot of work you put in.
For
it's
sure.
Like, you know what? Yeah, this guy's going to put his stamp on me and be like, yeah,
absolutely.
You're going to be included. So that's sick.
I thought that was super cool.
So he's also wondering, do you think there should be more full-length movies again, or do you prefer social media reels?
Ooh.
I can't imagine anyone prefers social media reels.
No, I mean,
maybe
both. I think
both.
At the end of the day, they're
the reels from the movie.
Yeah, it's like we're just in such like a different landscape right now. I do think that there should still be full-length wakeboard films, just as any other sport, right? I think there's an audience for that, but social is always going to be social. But it's a different time. It was like at my time with the wakeboarding videos, it was like, that's the only time you're seeing this guy, right? There wasn't a dude with a camera there all the time or someone that knew how to put together a snappy edit or anything like that. So it was like, that's the first time you're going to see any of this type of riding. Yeah. So the only thing that like spoils it is like everyone wants instant validation, right? And so if someone goes and lands some crazy trick, odds are you're going to see it on Instagram before it's ever in a movie. So I feel like if the riders could hold back a little bit and be like, I'm filming for this part and I'm going to go and try some really crazy stuff and I'm not posting it anywhere else.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the way to do it. But content's content, man. People want to see people. And I think it's also not just about the riding. Like the videos that I enjoyed the most were the ones where like you actually get to see who that person is. Yeah, entertainment value, and even like just seeing the real person, right? It's like being like, oh, this is a real guy. He's not just this wakeboard, legend.
Robot,
it was robot. It's like he's actually a cool or a fun person to talk to or be around.
Yeah, it's not like an either or, I don't think. It's just an and, where it's just
Correct.
like, hopefully, like, I mean, I don't know if you know La Familia, but they're like a boat crew and they do some winching. And
I think they're doing
cable
awesome stuff.
They're doing a movie and they're just holding for the movie. And they had a teaser and like you can kind of see in the teaser some stuff, but it's like nobody's seen anything from this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And obviously other people are doing edits and stuff. So I think it's just, I personally believe it's going to kind of come back around. And I think you might be a good guy to answer this question, but like with the whole AI thing, do you think there will be a resurgence in like in-person stuff, because in the future we might not be able to tell what's real and what's not, so the only way to tell what's real is to see it in person?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, there's, even with like AI content and stuff like that, people are like, oh, I can use AI for all my content, and it doesn't hit the same way. And so I think like that personal touch is always number one. As good as these things get, I feel like it's more filler, or you use it for efficiency. So it's like if you are trying to rapidly edit something or, streamline a process or whatever it is, that's when like AI and automation can really help you in that way. But as far as like content creation, it might be some cool or funny stuff or whatever it is, and maybe you're a good writer and prompter to make something that's cool or funny. But it's not the same as like that genuine, that's a real person. They really said that. They really did that. I think that's,
So you're tapped in with AI. Are we cooked? Like, are we?
Some people are. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. 100%.
What, like who? Like who's cooked? What's going on?
No, like, I mean, think about it like this. Like we do a lot of like AI dialing systems, right? So it's like automatically calling leads, qualifying them, setting them up for closers to get on the phone. It could be customer service. So like a lot of those, like those menial, and not even menial, right? It's just more of those like repetitive task jobs are going to be gone because
they're the easiest to automate.
Yeah, as bad as AI, as good as AI, is right now, it's going to get a million times better. It's just exponential growth there. And so if it's already outclassing some of those people and putting them out of a job, it's only going to increase. And so there's obviously other things that you can go do. And it's not, a lot of people are like, well, I'm going to lose my job. It's like, well, yeah, well, go pick up another skill. And then 2 is it's not going to replace everything. But if that can be used to make you more efficient and have you focus less on this other shit that you probably shouldn't be doing and focus more of your time on something that's going to give you a better return on investment for yourself or for your business, it's just a smart way to move. And so it's not about using it, it's how you use it and when you use it to make yourself more efficient or make your business more efficient. So don't look at it as, oh, it's going to replace me. It may if you're just doing repetitive shit all day long, but that's not what you should be doing. If you're any person that's of an asset to a company, you shouldn't be doing shit that's just repetitive day in, day out. You should be looking at the bigger picture of like, how do we move the ball every day? How do we get our revenues up? How do we make our marketing better? What can we cut or add to our operations to make streamlines more efficient?
Constantly adapting, changing.
Yeah, it's like,
forward.
just pivot.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting because I feel like it's definitely a hot button issue right now where, I don't know, there's always hot button issues where people are like, the world's going to end because of this. And it's like, well, it hasn't ended yet.
Correct.
I don't think AI will be the thing that cooks us. Could be. Who knows? But like, I don't.
We'll see.
It's usually not as big a deal as everybody always says it is. So let's dive back to wakeboarding a little bit. You had a video that you filmed at Ski Rexon a while ago, and the intro was interesting.
Okay.
So I'm wondering, you're still around Ski Rexon. Do you think like they're cool with drifting in the parking lot still, or was that like a thing you could only do?
No, they were never cool with that. They were never cool with that. To be clear,
some good drifts though.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. It's funny. The one that they didn't show on was when I actually messed up my rim. It was. I don't know if it was the same car, but like no, I came around the corner and I busted like a really awesome drift, and I was like, I'm the drift king, I'm the greatest.
Need for speed.
And so, but I looked at it on video and I was like, it's not quite aggressive enough. I'm like, I can get the back end out a little bit more. And I did. And then I spun around and I ended up like my wheel, luckily nothing broke in the car. I just had to basically go change my wheel, but like the whole wheel like bumped in and I was like, shit.
Took a little too far. It's a little too deep on that one.
Yeah, but no, they were never cool with that stuff. That was normally like an after hours, nobody's around, and you can get away with a little bit of stuff there.
Good intro though. If we're talking entertainment value, I mean, hard to beat some good drifts in a parking lot.
Correct.
I mean, come on,
Yeah, 100%.
Don't do it, but do it. So, all right, let's. You traveled a lot, so I'm curious on the park that you've been to that's the best for air tricks that you've experienced.
TSR is high up there.
Okay.
I
guess it makes sense.
Yeah, they had really really great park for air tricks. Gear in Budapest was a really good one. I think most people don't know that one. No. Then you've got Thai Wake Park was super good, but for everything, air tricks, rails, all that kind of stuff. And then Ski Rexon, man. I just, it's funny. It's like, you got guys like Tom that would come out to Ski Rexon and they'd be like, how the hell do you do what you do out here? It's like, it's weird and it's low and it's, it's this 4-tower system, but I really liked it. I felt like it had really good, consistent pop. And then I felt like it also set us up well to go ride at other parks because when we had to edge that much harder or figure out the height of the cable that much more, it made it a little bit easier to go to other parks and be able to go a lot bigger. But then we also had to adjust to that increased tension that we didn't really have.
Yeah, it's like kind of riding in less than ideal conditions. When you get the ideal ones, it makes things just a little bit easier, but you got to figure it out. So, all right, I think it's time we dive into the LF'n Wheel of Questions presented by Liquid Force. So if you want to go ahead and grab that Liquid Force Wheel of Questions down. Liquid Force likes to make wakeboarding fun, so let's make this podcast a little bit more fun by spinning the LF'n Wheel of Questions.
The LF'n Wheel of Questions.
Okay, let's go.
So we got some different stuff on here, so go ahead and we'll move this Skid Slayer so we can see it. Give it a spin, and let's see what she lands on. What do we got? Was that a... Yeah, I think you can spin a little harder. Right, cool. You can really, there we go. I was going to ask. I was like, that didn't feel great. All right, what do we got? What does it say?
Make a movie.
Make a movie. All right.
Yeah.
So you've been in a couple. We'll talk Penny after this, but like you can pick 4 riders total, and you can pick your filmer if you want, editor too, whatever you want to do. But you make a movie. It can be people from any era of any background or whatever. So you get to make a movie. So you put it together.
Wakeboard movie, obviously.
Wakeboard movie.
Okay,
Sorry,
gotcha.
not a.
Okay, it's not a porno.
Well,
Because then I got a lot of riders on my list.
limit of 4.
Yeah, all male cast. I would say out of that, I would say Nick Davies.
Okay.
Right? I think he would be awesome in there. Raph Jerome, obviously legend, right? On another side there as well. I'm gonna go Parks Bonifay because he's just a legend. But I'm talking like Parks in his prime.
Yeah.
I'm
We're all talking prime here.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then outside of that, I think Freddie Von Austin. A lot of people might not even know him. He was such a, we used to call him Gumby, right? Because he would just do these like weird Olay tricks and stuff like that. But to me, nothing cooler than something unique. Whether you considered it styly or not, I think seeing something different, like that's why I chose every one of those people.
That is a wild lineup.
And if I had to add one more in there, Bernard Hinterberger in his
Okay,
prime as well.
you can toss another one.
But again, doing stuff that you never saw a lot of people do, right? So at that point in time, it was like Parks was doing like double half cap mobs when nobody else was doing that kind of stuff. And Nick was doing some air trick stuff that was like, heel 7s off the flats and just bananas, like unwrapped mobs and all this crazy stuff. And then you got Freddie that was doing these weird Olay, kind of things. And then obviously Raph, what he's done on, rails in the boat side is incredible. And so, and then Bernard Hinterberger too, man, doing the stuff that he did air trick wise was like insane. Like on like old German cables that are like half the height of Skyrix and doing chromobes and Pete's off the flats both ways. Like he was an animal.
What a diverse lineup. I love it.
It's not
sick.
the lineup you asked for, but that's the one I want.
And you ripped it off too. All right. So we got a LF'n wild card from the crew at Liquid Force, and they got a 2-parter. So 1, most underrated air trick, and then 2, most overrated air trick.
Overrated double the blind.
Okay. Really?
I think just at my time, right? It's like now I would say like S-Mob 5s, right? You know what I mean? Like and it's not overrated. They're hard. It's an awesome air trick, but there's nothing worse than watching a competition and everybody's doing the same fucking shit. Yeah. It's like everyone's doing Rayleigh 5s and S-Mob 5 and Mob 5s. It was like, I think that. And then underrated, I'd say a lot of the Toeside stuff. Yeah. Like I love the Toeside stuff. I also like Bel Air stuff. So like watching people do like Moby Dicks off the flats or Tweety 5s, things like that I always thought were really cool, different.
Interesting. Okay. I'm not an air trick guy, so I'm always curious to learn about that. So, all right, we can go ahead and put the LF'n wheel questions back. So thank you to Liquid Force for that. And I think it's time we, I think we pivot to Penny. So we touch on Penny. We were touching on statement. So I think we touch on Penny a little bit and then also dive a little bit more into air tricks. And then we got a couple more things I want to talk about, rap and Skid Slayer, obviously. So, all right. How did the opportunity for Penny come about? Because this was a pretty big movie.
Same thing.
Had some big names in it, dude.
Yeah, we had some good ones in there. That was Chris Flaxman. So I got an email. He was in Australia and invited me to come out for that. And I got some family in Australia as well, so it was like a double whammy. And same thing. It was like at that point in time, there weren't many cable wakeboarding specific cable movies. I guess at that point in time, so pretty much anybody could have called me for a movie, and they're like, "We're doing a cable wakeboarding movie." I'm like, "I'm in." Like I don't care who's in it. Like this is cool. And so I went out for that one, and that was super cool. Awesome cable, too, because they had a left and a right forward cable next to each other.
This is Cables?
Yeah, this was Cables Penrith. And super cool people out there. Great cable. Filming with Chris was awesome. And then, obviously, being part of another movie and then all the other talented writers in there was, blessing.
Yeah, some insane stuff you did. I mean, anything stand out from that part you had? I mean...
No, it's funny. I watch, anytime I watch some of my older, movie part videos... I don't think I was riding my best, to be honest with you. Like, I felt like I was just under so much pressure to go do,
interesting
stuff for the movie. I would say, like, on that one, maybe the Big Johnson 5 or Big Johnson 7.
See, okay, I'm not going to lie. I don't know what a Big Johnson is.
Okay, gotcha.
What is it?
So that is a Toeside whirly bird. So you're coming in Toeside like a scarecrow, but then you throw it as like a whirly, and then 5. So taking it to blind. So it's basically a whirly 5, but you're taking off Toeside.
That's wild.
So I'd say that was probably one of my highlights.
Who named that unit? Do you know?
I don't know.
Big Johnson.
None of us have Big Johnsons.
That's one of those
This is
stolen
wakeboarding.
valor
Yeah,
moments.
exactly. It was like, what do we call it? Yeah, Big Johnson. That thing I never had, but always wanted.
Damn. Okay. All right. I mean, that was a interesting rewatch for me because it was just like Nico, like super young. I mean, maybe not super young Nico, but young Nico. Tom was in it. Some other guys. All at Cable. So interesting. Link will be in the description, obviously, if you want to rewatch it. So let's talk Turks and Caicos.
Ooh.
When was the first time you went to Turks and Caicos?
For my sister's wedding.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not wakeboard related.
No. So I met the guys from Turks and Caicos at my sister's wedding originally. And then they invited me to come out on the boat, and then I did some coaching for them and filmed a little bit and just had a good time out there.
Okay, so when did you go for wakeboarding? Like specific
they invited me back.
They invited you back?
Yeah, they invited me back to go just do, it was just coaching and
Just
like some
coaching.
video stuff, yeah.
Okay, so I actually watched, when I was a kid, How to 360, the video. It has like over 500,000
How
views.
crazy is that?
It's wild,
It's
right?
so frustrating sometimes because it's like you go and you bust your ass to go try like these crazy tricks and nobody watches it. But then it's like how to do a 360 or how to do a back roll and like
600,000
terribly
views.
filmed and not even anything great. And it's like, yeah, crazy views.
So do you remember this video that I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Because
I know
this
exactly.
guy, you're on the boat and you're talking to him. You're like, he's like, I want to learn a 360. And you're like, frontside, backside. He's like, I want to do frontside 360. And you're like, okay, so frontside, you do the frontside 180, blah, blah, pass the handle. He goes out, backside 360 he tries.
Yep.
And then he comes back to the boat and you're like, were you trying frontside or backside 360? He's like, I don't know. And you're just like, shit. Okay, well,
Yeah.
which one do you want to do? And he's like, frontside. I think he does another backside one or something. And then eventually lands it.
Yeah.
Like, kind of stomps it, too.
Yeah.
Like, pretty sick. So that was just like,
I'd love to take credit for that and say I'm an unbelievable coach, but I'm actually a terrible coach, to be honest with you. Like,
mean,
I'm not, I can do the tricks. It's funny. Like, I'm a bad coach. And same thing with like Nick Davies. You'd ask him how to do a trick and be like, how do you do it? I'd be like, yeah, you just kind of like go in the air and throw yourself around. And then, you know, it's like, but he can't explain it, but he can do everything.
I feel like some people's brains work like that where I can't explain it either. Like I'm not a explain trick kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like I can try to work my way through it, but you're much better off talking to somebody who's way more analytical about it and like doing that stuff. So, all right. So you're coaching down there. Were you just like taking random trips down there to coach or like did you live down there for a good amount of time?
I was there for maybe like a week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Quick flight, I'm imagining from
Yeah,
Florida.
like 2-3 hours.
2 hours. Okay. We need to talk about the board shorts of this era.
Okay.
So
They were a little short. I get it.
no, they were long.
I'm
well,
joking. Yeah, of course, yeah.
I didn't know if you meant short like they were hanging low because they
No,
were hanging
yeah,
a little
dude,
low.
ankle biters,
but
bro.
they were ankle. I mean, what's the process of like picking out a pair of boardies? Were all the boardies this length in that era? Like
They were all pretty long, but it also didn't help when I was 5'5", right? You know, so it's like
Just
I wasn't a
facts.
tall guy either. I wear 5-inch short. They're still long on me, right? So there's that. But at that point in time, it was like cool, you know.
got to
It was
be
like
over the knee, right?
Yeah, the longer
Okay.
the shorts, the better you ride. You know,
Yeah.
it was just some kind of flair.
It's got the swag to it. I mean, it's coming back a little bit. I think.
I think
the
it could come
bagginess
back,
and
yeah.
like I don't know about that long. Maybe I'll run it up. We'll see.
We don't know.
It's just funny. I feel like you watch all the old boat videos and the dudes are like OCD about pulling the shorts over their knee.
Of course.
It's like it's got to be over the
Yeah.
knee or like it's
yeah,
no good.
exactly. Yeah, don't be showing your kneecaps to me.
All right,
See your dainty kneecaps.
let's dive into rap a little bit.
Okay.
So, sadly, I was trying to find some of your rap videos and I couldn't find them.
Really? Okay.
I guess I didn't. I mean, I look kind of hard. I feel like I don't know if this
Okay.
was a Vimeo situation.
Well, I took most of my stuff off of like Instagram and Facebook, but like everything, like I've still got stuff on YouTube for it.
Okay, maybe I couldn't find it then. But anyways, you're pretty good at rapping. Where did this come from, and how'd you dabble into this? Like, because you kind of had some legit shit.
I liked it. Yeah. No, it started like, look, I always liked comedy and music, and I grew up as like a kid on like Eminem and all this stuff. I grew up really privileged, but I like to listen to the music that made me feel like I wasn't growing up privileged. You know what I mean? It was like,
Classic Eminem,
spent
yeah.
time behind bars, but they were like, it was a private country club kind of thing, you know? And so I just always liked that kind of music, but it was like never something that I felt like I could be serious about because it was like, all right, well, it just felt corny to be.
Doesn't represent me.
No, it didn't represent me, and it felt corny to go rap seriously. And so it started off, funnily enough, like I went to a party at Greg Norman's house, who owns Shark Wake Park. And I would always, like, same thing when I was younger and I'd have a couple of drinks in me or whatever it was, I'd freestyle and mess around and people were like, yo, you're really good. But I was just like, it's, it's something I do when I'm drunk, you know? And then he had like a big party there and he had a band playing. And then, it's like word got around that I was pretty good at freestyling between, just some of my friends. And they were like, Mark, we got a microphone here. I was like, all right. And so I rapped, and then same thing. Everyone was like, "Yo, he's good," you know. And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm good," but like, I never really thought much of it. And then same thing. I went to a Texas ski ranch event, and you know, it was cable stock, and same thing. I'm like sitting in the crowd, and I'm just dancing like an idiot with this backpack on. And one of the guys on the stage was like, he like pulled, you know, he came up to me. He's like, "Bro," he's like, "Your dancing's hilarious." He's like, "You want to come up on stage and dance?" I was like, "Yeah, hell yeah," you know. So I got up on stage and I'm dancing, and I forget who it was that was next to me. I think it was either Juicy J or one of the whoever was doing, whoever the headliner for the event was. And he like took a break for a second. He's like, "Bro," he's like, "You're dancing so funny." And I was like, "Yo, let me hit a freestyle." And he was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, really." I was like already drunk at that point.
Yeah.
And then same thing, ripped it, and everyone went nuts in the crowd. So I was like, all right, like I guess I'm pretty decent at this, but it just didn't like, nothing really like came out of it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I started just dabbling with it just for fun. It was just like a stress reliever, but I always went like the comedic route with it.
Yeah. Kind of a little Dicky vibe.
Yeah, Lil Dicky. Yeah, that's exactly. And loved his stuff. And then so I started, you know, just rapping more for myself and for fun, and starting to post videos that started to do all right. And then moved to California, and I was doing comedy and music, and I started working with guys like Stevie Emerson and Trevor Wallace and some of these other like
Trevor Wallace, damn.
So we were doing some cool stuff out there. And I just had a blast. Like I never really like, you know, blew up myself like on any one of those channels, but you know, I've been part of videos, whether it was, you know, acting in it or helped actually wrote the script and produced it, like videos that have gotten anywhere from 1 million to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million views. And so I've been part of a lot of cool things, but like as far as like my own personal brand, I just never had those hits, and then also never stuck with it consistently enough. Like I said, I've always been working and you know, making sure that I was putting food on my plate and all these other areas. So it's like, you know, do what I'm doing and continue to make money and build, you know, business acumen and learning other things, or go full on into comedy and music and risk everything. And to me, it was just, you know, that's when I started dating my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and we got a baby girl on the way. And it just felt selfish to me to be like, all right, you're coming along on this dream with me, as opposed to, you know,
like, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly, because it's like, look, you could blow up or you could be nothing. Right. And so I didn't think it was fair to her to go on that journey. And look, I had my fun with it, and I still have fun with it, you know. So yeah, I'll, you know, maybe do some stuff, you know, later on. But it's been like, I feel like everything in life is like I said, cyclical, where it's like you start to gain these experiences, right? And so like what I learned even doing the comedy and the music was like, okay, how do you get people to watch? How do you actually entertain people? And then when I started to learn, obviously, how to do that and see how to go get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million views, it was like, all right, now how do we apply that to something that we can actually make money with, like a product, right? And so like, that's why you'll see with like Skid Slayer and the toilet paper thing, like we've got crazy videos, because like the whole ethos is like, look, regular toilet paper has bleach and BPAs and PFAs and all these like, you know, not so good things to be rubbing on your butt. So you're technically like bleaching your butthole. And so we made a crazy commercial with this little sweet old lady
So where did I see
where
this
she
one?
basically goes, I bleach my asshole. I've been doing it since I was a little girl, right? And then it goes to like, you know, this other guy, and he goes, I bleach my asshole too, just like my father did and his father before him. And then it goes to this black chick, and she's like, I've been bleaching my asshole, you know? And then basically it wraps up with the little old lady going, you know, look, if you use regular toilet paper, you've been bleaching your ass too. And that's why we made Skid Slayer, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you make things funny, but also translate it to something that people can actually buy? Because views are cool, and yeah, they might pay you for views from Facebook or YouTube or whatever it is, but like the second they change that algorithm, or the second you fall off, you're dead, as opposed to applying that same logic to a brand or something that's got more longevity.
Okay, we'll dive into Skid Slayer now. But before we dive into Skid Slayer, what was the video you filmed rapping on the plane? What was the name of that?
She Ain't Feeling Me.
She Ain't Feeling Me. That one was catchy as fuck. All right, so can you name 2 other wakeboarders who have also rapped? Like, legit rapped?
Vandal, I think, would be one, right?
100%. The other one, I don't know if you'll get.
The other one that rapped.
We're talking Spotify.
Oh, Colin G?
He might have. Wake skater, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He might have. I'm
Okay.
thinking Wesley Mark Jacobson.
Ooh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, he's done a lot of rap and music as well. So
Oh, I did forget. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
I was curious. Yeah, I'm glad you got
Is he
Randall.
still making music?
I don't know. He made one like a few years ago.
Okay,
about his
it's
wife,
tough
I
in the
think.
streets. I get it.
It is. You know, he's got a kid now, so it's
So we're all getting kids,
rap
man. They're
game's
just
tough.
letting any one of us idiots have kids.
I mean, that's
Crazy.
kind of the thing,
They
right?
just let me do it, you know? That's what's wild about it.
All right, let's talk Skid Slayer, dude. Like, so you teased it a little bit. What is it? Like, where did it come from?
It's a very complicated product. Toilet paper. It basically just came from look, I came from the consumer packaged goods space, and I always really liked brands like Liquid Death. And what did Liquid Death do? They didn't reinvent the wheel. They made water and they put it in a can. And so it wasn't anything like groundbreaking, but they had an eco-friendly vibe to them, and they were doing things that were good for the planet. But, even more than that, it's a marketing play more than anything. So like even with Red Bull, they've got their drinks, but that is really a byproduct of their marketing efforts. And so, I came from like the energy drink space as well with Odyssey Elixir. It's a mushroom energy drink. Coming from that, always really liked what they did with Liquid Death. And then my wife and I were in the grocery store buying toilet paper as one does. And we're looking around and I'm like, it's all the same stuff. This Bear, the Charmin, the Ultra Soft. It was just like, greenwashing, kind of brands, the ones that were kind of eco-friendly, and the legacy brands contain plastic and bleach and PFAs and, BPAs and all this other kind of stuff. And so I was like, why is there not like a good for you toilet paper brand that's also like cool? Like, why can't anybody do that? And that's when it kind of hit me. And I was like, all right, take the same playbook as Liquid Death and apply it to another, boring and stale category. And that's the same play that guys like Richard Branson have done, with a bunch of their types of products and ventures. And so again, not reinventing the wheel, making a good product at the heart of it, with, care and attention to detail and what you're actually giving people. And that goes down to like being eco-friendly and being plastic-free packaging and all that kind of stuff. But I think more people buy into the brand and the vibe than they are even
especially nowadays. Yeah, for sure.
And people want to resonate with something. And I felt like this was something that people could resonate with, just being really funny and like not holding back. Like just because toilet paper is soft doesn't mean we have to be.
Damn, that's a good line.
You like that?
That's a good one.
I might spit that on a freestyle.
That was a good one. What's the performance like on these units?
The performance is high quality, right? Fast. It is very good for you. So it's really, when it came to like developing a toilet paper product, we were talking about this before the pod as well. It's like, you don't realize how much goes into it. And I think some people might look at it and go, oh, cool. Like he found a toilet paper manufacturer and slapped a cool box and whatever and put it in.
He faked it kind of.
Yeah, he faked it. And like I spent countless hours like getting a ton of different samples from different manufacturers. And it came down to like the embossing pattern, right? So like what the stamp is on the actual roll itself. Please go for it. Yeah. And so like the embossing pattern, that makes a difference on how it feels on your butt. And then bleached or unbleached. So if you notice, it's an unbleached toilet paper. So there's no chemicals, none of that kind of stuff. How many ply? Is it 1 ply, 2 ply, 3 ply? And then same thing, like even the core diameter. So like that little thing that's the core that's inside the roll there, that makes a difference on how big the core diameter is to how spongy the roll feels, and then how wide the roll is. So it's like all these different specs that you wouldn't think are such a big deal in toilet paper that to me really made a big difference into making a good product. And then obviously we want to go and innovate from here. So it's having, what we have now, and then we're going to do, bamboo baby wipes, and we might do a Skid Slayer skid sprayer bidet, right? To spray your skids.
There you go.
So we want to do some really cool stuff and just take over the, bathroom products and make them cool and fun.
The branding's sick.
Thanks, man.
I like it. So if you blow up, any chance you'll sponsor some wakeboarders and
Absolutely.
like kind of, okay.
Absolutely.
Go.
Yeah. Got to take care of your people. You remember where you came from.
Exactly. So is this available yet? Like, can people buy it yet?
Yeah,
or
so
like, what's the situation?
Pre-order right now. So I don't know when the pod comes out, but we are in pre-order as of right now, where people can actually buy. If you use code SOFTSERVE, you'll save 10%, right?
There you go.
It's a good one right there. Maybe we'll do a pod discount code. So we'll do, grab matters.
Easy. Let's
right?
do it.
So grab matters. We'll do, we'll do 15.
15. There we go.
15 for the grab
that.
matters.
There we go.
And people can pre-order right now. Everyone that pre-orders will get, sticker pack. And we're also going to start throwing in some really cool Skid Slayer t-shirts into some of those packs as
I like
well.
the branding. The branding's sick.
Thanks, man.
It's like Saved by the Bell kind of vibe.
Yeah, I wanted it to be something that was like throwback, retro, punk rock,
Yeah.
kind of vibe. I'm a 90s kid, so some of that kind of vibe to it. And then we will officially be released end of January. So it's like January 20th of when our product lands.
Okay.
So I'd say like end of January where it'll be widely available, and we're already in talks with distributors and retailers that are going to be picking it up from day one. So, Yeah, we're starting off strong, and we got some awesome stuff. Like it's an unbelievable team between myself, our CFO, our ad manager, and then we got some really great creators like Brent Pella, Blake Weber. If you know Blake Vapes, you might have seen him. He's got a huge following. He's super funny. And then we got Nikki Howard, and adding to that team. So we got a lot of really cool content that we're going to be dropping here soon.
I mean, dude, you see this next to any of the other brands, like. That shit's so lame.
Half the battle, right? If you are, look, online.
It's going to catch my eye.
Yeah, online and then even like in a retail space, if someone even picks you up, and that was the same thing that I've watched from a ton of stuff with Mike Cesario, who founded Liquid Death. If somebody picks you up, you're as good as sold. And so,
you mean the retailer or distributor picks you up?
No, in a retail
physically
space.
picks you up.
So if someone looks at it, even if they walk by and they go, Skid Slayer, what the is that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
why is this in the toilet paper?
Yeah.
Row?
So if I even broke their attention for 1 second to have them look at the packaging and read a little bit more about it,
done.
You're as good as sold.
Yeah.
And so that's the big thing is like, how do you break that attention? And luckily we're not in, an energy drink space or somewhere else where everybody else is cool. Nobody's cool in toilet paper. Nobody's trying to be cool in toilet paper. So yeah, we are, and that's kind of where we wanted to stand out.
Good ass name. I'm not gonna lie. When you thought of it, did you know? Like,
when you know. But we went through a bunch of dumb names, and it was, again, it needed to be something that was like super memorable, and I always like something that's like two of the same letter in a row.
Was that called alliteration or whatever?
Yeah, alliteration or whatever it is.
It rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, I always liked stuff like that, and yeah, Skid Slayer was just cool.
It is cool.
Yeah, and like. Insane. Like every time I talk to like retailers or distributors and they're like, and what's the name of your company? And I'm like, well, we're a toilet paper brand. We're called Skid Slayer. And they go, that's hilarious. And that's exactly what I want is people to be like, is this a real product? Is this
it's
that's
real and
crazy?
it's legitimate.
Yeah,
like
correct.
it's,
and it's a good product. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn. Okay. That's cool to learn about. I feel like starting businesses is always fascinating.
Yeah, for sure.
To hear about, especially toilet paper. You just never.
Yeah.
That's Charmin Ultra and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
So buy Skid Slayer. All right. We got a question from Norby.
Okay.
And this is totally unrelated to Skid Slayer, but he wants to hear about naked crowd surfing in France and Amsterdam adventures with Diego.
Oh, gotcha.
Norby was going to come with something.
So same thing. I was with Saruz, and I told you their whole thing is like no guts, no glory.
Yeah.
And so they picked us up, and at that point in time, I was injured, and I was there for another photo shoot in France. And they said, okay, well, it's all good if you're injured. Like, you don't have to ride. We're going to go to La Canal. It was like the biggest surf event, I think, in Europe at the time. And they said, oh, we'll hang out. We've got like a VIP booth there, and then we'll do some photos. So I was like, all right, cool. So we get there, and they bring this photographer, and they're like, this guy's so good. Like, he does such amazing, like, creative, tasteful things. So I was like, all right, cool. So he starts showing me his stuff, and they're like, naked photos of these other dudes, you know what I mean? And like, it sounds sus, and it is sus, but he starts showing me some of these photos and they're like genuinely funny. It was like these cool campaigns that they were doing where it was like, for mine in particular, it was called, it was like usually Marc Shuster wears Sarus. And so I was like naked and it's like, usually I wear Sarus, right? So it was,
that's good.
It was actually smart and it was a cool campaign. And so they, starts showing me these photos and he's like, so we're going to do this photo shoot and it's, it's naked. And I'm like, okay, and again, like their tagline is no guts, no glory. So
this is
like,
some European
yeah,
shit,
yeah, exactly. I'm like, these damn Euros. Yeah. I'm like, all right, fine. Who do I make out with? And so they said, all right, it's going to be naked. So I'm like, okay. And then they said, okay, we're going to do it tomorrow at the beach. So I'm like, prepping myself mentally, seeing if I can somehow get in good shape before the next day kind of thing. And they said,
how to do a quick fast.
Yeah, exactly. How to do a quick, quick juice cleanse. And so now they said, okay, we're going to do it tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, cool. So we went to that party that night and it was like the biggest event for surfing at the time. And so this was like the main party for the surf event. And so we're going to the party and we're about to walk in and all of a sudden the photographer looks at me and goes, we do tonight. This is French guy. We do it tonight. So I was like, do what? He's like, the photos. We're doing it tonight. So I was like, oh my God. And this place is like packed, like wall to wall. Like you can't like, even rubbing past somebody, you're like trying to squeeze in places. And so he goes, all right. He goes, go behind the DJ booth. He goes, here's a towel. Here's a hula necklace and go take off your clothes. So I'm like, do I have a second to go get a drink? He's like, yeah. So I was like, all right. So I run up to the bar. I'm like, 3 shots, please. So I like slam these shots back really quick. And now I'm standing there and take off all my clothes and I've just got this towel on and a hula necklace. And they go, okay, they're going to call you up on stage. And so Nicholas, my team manager at the time, he gets up on stage and he's speaking French, saying all this stuff. And then he goes, from America, Marc Shuster, professional wakeboarder, and he like brings me up. And now I'm standing there with the towel on and the hula necklace. And all of a sudden he goes, all right, you ready? So I was like, I guess, right? And he pulls the towel away and I'm just standing there like holding my junk. And I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking like, I don't know if people are going to be into this, right? And dude, everyone in the crowd loses it. They're like, yeah, they're going nuts. So now I start getting comfortable. I'm giving one-handers, legs up, I'm just having the time of my life. And he goes, all right, now turn around so they can see the back. So I'm like, all right, whatever, so like I turn around, and then he starts pushing me back a little bit and he goes, now jump back. And I'm like, what do you mean jump back? I'm like, dude, I'm sweaty, I'm naked, like nobody wants to touch me right now. And I like look behind me and like everybody's got
They're prepared.
Dude, they've got their hands up. So I'm like, all right, So I jump back and I like crowd surf all the way to the back of the club. And that's where they got the photo. If you don't have the photo, I'll send it to you. It's a really funny one. I've got it framed in my office. So they take me all the way to the back of the club and then they bring me halfway back and put me down. So now I'm in the middle of the crowd naked this, and I got to get up on the stage and it's like this high. And so like I had to step up and I felt like everyone could see straight into my soul as I'm getting up. And it was nuts. And then they give me the towel back and I'm, got the towel wrapped around me and some chick starts pulling on the towel. And I'm like, and now I'm like comfortable. I'm like, well, I'm like, everybody's seen every part of me at this point. I'm like, I don't care. So she starts pulling on the towel. And this was like one of the funniest moments of my life was like, she's pulling on the towel. So I was like, oh, you want the towel? She's like, yeah. So like, I like wipe everything with it basically. And I throw it and like smacks her in the face and she grabs the towel like this. Like, she's like happy to have it. I was like, what the hell?
Like she got a souvenir.
Yeah, I was like, this would never happen in the US. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I love Europe. And then I ended up hanging out with her for the next couple of days. It was kind of cool. Yeah, I still remember her. Nice girl.
There you go, Norby. I like that. That's a great
so that was a fun one. That was like I will never be that cool again.
For a photo shoot, too.
Yeah,
That's
never.
insane.
I'll never be that cool again.
Bring some of that kind of shit. Maybe not naked crowd surfing, but like the sometimes
just the fun, like
he wears
the fun.
They're not even showing their product in the thing.
Correct.
It's like sometimes you wear like that's fucking cool.
Something cool.
Makes me want to buy it.
Yeah.
That's like it's way more than just like the picture of the thing.
For sure.
It's like all right, we got another segment from Slingshot, so presented by Slingshot, and it's called Slings Hot Takes. So we got 8 hot takes here, and they're kind of rapid fire, so they're all wakeboarding related.
Cool.
And you just kind of fire off, and if you got some more explanation you want to do on them, you can, or you can just keep it simple. Number 1, are blunts real on a wakeboard?
I don't know what blunt you were talking about for a second.
Well, we know the other blunt's very real.
Just to be clear, I don't smoke anymore, but I used to be, I used to be pretty heavy in the game. Are blunts real? Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Best wakeboard movie?
Best wakeboard movie. Big Time.
Big Time. Okay.
It's just a classic. It's an oldie, but a goldie. And what was it? Honkies?
12 Honkies.
12 Honkies. Great one. Yeah.
That
was the one that I was saying, like, personality in a video. Like, it wasn't just like
entertainment
riding.
value through the roof.
100%.
If there was one rider you could bring back in the game, who would it be and why?
One rider to bring back, Parks. I mean, he's still in the game, obviously, but at the same time.
You mean like Prime Park, bring him back
Parks,
in?
Yeah. Again, just like seeing the creativity and some of the crazy stuff he was doing.
Damn, if he could have just never left his prime, he'd
Yeah.
He'd have led the triple.
Shame on him for aging.
Yeah. Come on, Parks.
The nerve.
Number 4, if it's plastic, is it a handrail?
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Number 5, is skinny stance actually better or just a trend?
I don't think it's skinny stance necessarily. It's just people are riding such big boards nowadays.
It looks skinny?
I think so.
You were pretty always wide, were you?
We were always wide.
Always
yeah,
wide, yeah.
Bow-legged boys. Yeah.
What about nowadays? You still wide?
I'm a little bit more in right now.
Okay.
I wouldn't say skinny stance, but way more in, just because like as I got older, my knees are not what they used to be.
I feel like just a little bit wider than shoulder width. Like
correct. That's it.
You're just chilling.
Just normal.
6, should pros be allowed to ride without a helmet and vest?
No.
7, is a video part from a wake park considered a part?
Yes.
Most illegal trick? Number 8.
Illegal trick.
Yeah. So this isn't like
it's my favorite, but it's nuclear.
Okay, all right.
It's like people are going to rag on it all day
fair.
long, but it's still one of my favorite grabs.
Yeah, fair. That's valid. Okay, thank you to Slingshot for that. So, all right, we just mentioned kind of setup, and I want to know your setup now and how often you ride.
Gotcha. I ride maybe once a month, if that. Sometimes I'll go like 3-4 months without riding. Sometimes I'll ride once a week every now and then. Just kind of depends. And then as far as like setup, I just like Ski Ericsson still takes care of me, and they're big with LF, and they've always done a really great job. I like LF products. I like all the brands really. LF, Hyperlight, Slingshot, all of them. They all make great products. It's just who's giving me the best deal. That's what I'm riding, and they gave me a really great deal on it, and so I like what I'm riding. It's
Do you know what you're on, or
I'm on the Apex.
Okay, and bindings,
White bindings. I don't know.
No booties though, just
disconnected.
straight up
No
foot
booties.
and boot.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not a fan of the booties, but yeah, I'm rocking booties.
What about stance width and angle? Do you know that off the top of your head?
I think 12 and 12.
You just kind of look at it.
Yeah, I
I'm
kind of
gonna look at it.
eyeball it.
Yeah.
If it fits the chips, kind of thing.
If it fits the ships one flat rate, we love to see that. All right, we got some random questions we can fire off here. So, what's the key to a half load? Because you're pretty decent at half loads.
Keeping your arms in. Yeah, I would say it's the same as doing a Rayleigh or any other air trick, but it's not extending all the way. So it's like grabbing really hard pop, releasing and popping really hard, but not letting yourself extend out.
Yeah. Okay.
It's muscle. It's
Muscle.
really, it's like muscle and like
Tense.
locked in.
Yeah,
Being really
tense.
tense. Yeah.
Okay. Double S to blind. Has there been a triple? Have you tried a triple?
Tried a triple. I've tried it 3 times.
3 times.
I got really close on my first 2, like landed, slightly over rotated and just shouldered
I think we talked
over.
about that.
Yeah, and I'll send
Yeah.
you clips so you can check them out as well. But landed, barely over rotated, and then tried a triple to blind because I kept on over rotating it. So I thought maybe if I just try to go a little bit more, like it was so hard to stop because you're spinning so fast that I thought maybe I could, and it was not the case. That was way worse.
Damn. All right. Who do you have as the GOAT, greatest of all time?
Nick
Davies.
Yeah. Damn. He was just that good, dude. At that point in time, like he was so far ahead, and not just like so far ahead, just super stylish too, and also just a great dude. Like we spent so much time together and traveled the world and and had a blast. And so I think he was, one of my favorite to watch for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I always think of Nick's part in the debut, and it was just like when I was coming up and watching that, I wasn't super into air tricks, but the way he does them is just like
just cool.
It's just so
just
cool,
stylish
dude.
and
Like,
fun. Yeah, that's the best way I can explain and why I chose him is because he is fun to watch ride.
Yeah,
he's not doing the same shit every lap. He's trying something new or weird, and that's what I love about even like Liam and all the UK guys right now is like they are not afraid to eat shit or try something new and goofy or different because they're just kind of like fearless, and they'll try new stuff. It's fun.
So do you watch like cable contests? Like, do you watch LAO every year? Like,
definitely not.
And if not, what would get you as like a dude who used to be in it and not in it anymore to like pay attention? Or,
I think the fun, like, you know what I watched that I really enjoyed and my wife really enjoyed was the Cable Carnival.
Yeah.
The videos that the Peacock brothers put out, because yes, the riding is cool and it's fun to watch people go and hug stuff and do some crazy stuff, but there was entertainment factor in it. And
they have the
something that
things
was
where they're
fun.
going through the buoys that are
Yeah,
circuit, like,
they're like,
long distance.
skiing
like,
and doing all this other kind of stuff. And again, bringing the fun back into a sport that is supposed to be fun. It shouldn't be this tight, rigid kind of thing. So I think that, and then what they did for, when they were doing like T-Mobile Extreme Playgrounds, like, putting some music or entertainment as part of the value proposition.
Yeah. Cause I guess you mentioned like, I was going to go to Worlds, and it's like, well, I'm just curious on like the generation your age who is really into it, and then maybe like rides every now and again.
Yeah,
like
even then we still want to go because it's just, even if I'm not riding or competing, I want to go hang out. I'll crack a beer, sit on the sidelines and chill, but it should be fun and a vibe to go. If it's just this boring whack announcer and there, 13 people there and there's no vibe, like nobody wants to go to that. Like you're not going to go to a club and be like, well, that club was popping and there's like 4 people in there and nobody's dancing, right?
That's facts. That's true. Damn. All right. I mean, is there anything else you want to touch on or talk about here? I feel like we covered a lot here, but
yeah, I think nothing off the top of my mind.
I loved it. This was a great.
Thanks,
great
man. No, thankful to be here, and it's like fun. I've been like so far, removed from the wakeboarding community, but obviously I've been watching your podcast and love what you guys are doing. And
Appreciate it,
you
yeah.
got so many awesome people on here, so I'm just honored that you had me on here, man.
Big thanks for making the drive. I know you're a good bit away, but really appreciate you coming out because I was really looking forward to having you on the pod. And I was talking to Tom and Norby, and they were like, "Dude, Mark's like," because I'd never met you before. They're like, "Mark's funny ass guy." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I can't wait." But damn, all right. Well, thank you for coming on. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Get some Skid Slayer when this shit comes out.
Go wipe your butts.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. Everybody does it.
That's
right?
true.
So everybody, everybody wipes their ass. That's a fact. So yeah, get Skid Slayer. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys.